All right, now to our first conversation. Well, filing annual tax returns is the cornerstone of tax compliance, and the Lagos Internal Revenue Service have introduced a series of reforms to simplify the process and boost taxpayer engagement. Now, let's hear more now from Mr. Abedin Konde, he's a special advisor to the Executive Chairman, LIRS. Joining me right here in the studio. It's great to have you.
Same here.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
So, happy International Women's Day. We're still celebrating women. Quick question. Which gender is more tax compliant, the men or the women in Nigeria or in Lagos?
Okay, I think it's fair to say both because essentially it's the compliance rate that we have, it's a function of the economic spectrum. So you'll find out that most of the people that are complying are those that are in the upper middle class with women and men. And men. Yes.
But I know some women will say, we are more compliant than men. Anyway, let's look at, some reforms now happening. Talk to us about these reforms and why they're happening, at this point. Are we moving more steps ahead, when it comes to, tax compliance, tax collection, and all of that?
Yeah, because reforms within Lagos State or at the national level?
Lagos State, especially.
Lagos State. Okay, essentially what we have done in Lagos State is very simple, is that we have automated our processes so that it will make it easier and cheaper for you to comply. You see, the most important thing to know is that tax itself is a burden. So there's also the cost, aside from the cost of paying the tax itself, then there's also the cost of compliance. So what you have, and the challenge that most people and most agencies have globally is that because most of the laws are dated, the penalty for compliance is already fixed. You can't adjust it because that's the way the law is. So if by chance the cost of compliance is higher than the penalties that you are practically incentivizing people not complying. So for you to incentivize compliance, then you have to reduce their cost, and that's what we have been doing in Lagos.
Right. So when you say the cost of compliance,
yes,
and the cost of actually
the tax itself,
yes, itself. So we've seen a mismatch. There for a while.
Yeah. So that's why I said that's the major challenge we have. Most of the laws that we have were basically take for PIT that we do. The last time it was reviewed was 2011. If you know the price dynamics in 2011, does not work today. So the penalties that were set in 2011, definitely, if we don't do things about it, it will incentivize people not to comply that, if the penalty I'm going to pay is not going to be as high as the cost that it will take me to comply. So that
means we should expect the penalties to rise higher.
Ideally, not necessarily. What you should have is that you should find a way to reduce the cost of compliance. That's what any good forward-thinking tax authority should do, so that you can drive down the cost of compliance. And what I always give people is a very simple example. Imagine if you're in a university, you got to pay 1,000 naira in 5 different places: tuition, boarding, library, sports, and then student union or student affairs. And you have to do 5 times. You understand? So for every time that you queue, you're actually incurring cost. But imagine if they're able to just pay it only once, and then at the back end, the boss is able to just distribute. So that's the way we are thinking in Lagos, and that's the way we are doing.
Right, and definitely some people, when they hear reforms at this point, they feel it's going to be painful. At some point. So, talk to me about these particular reforms. I hear there have been arguments, against them, so far. So, what do you say are the concerns, and how do you, address those concerns?
I think the best bet for me is that let me put my cap down as SA to EC of LRS, and then talk to you on the reforms as a Nigerian with economics background and a flair for developmental economics. Now, the reforms that you have, if you claim to put in place structures for reforms and you don't have pushback, then it means we have not carried out reforms. That's number one. So, and importantly, from the feedback that we have seen so far, I can tell you clearly that 90% of the pushback that we've seen so far is driven principally by what I can call ignorance, which you can cure with engagement and explanation. And then there's mischief. That one is difficult to address. Then, of course, there's the issue of fear. People fear things that are new, that they are not used to. And we've seen it demonstrated by one of the very respected public personalities. And the fear was that, how are we going to pay salaries of our staff? But if you read through, you will see that there's humongous opportunity to improve. But don't forget, let me be clear about it. The primary focus of the reforms that we have is not revenue generation. The primary focus is on easing the environment to do business, so that when people do more business, there is the opportunity for you, even if you reduce the tax rate, you get to put more in the pocket. And also, more importantly, to sort of provide relief to those people at the lower part of the pyramid, so that you can put more money in their pocket. And when you put more money in their pocket, they will spend it, the economy will grow. And if people understand it that way, then we won't be having this issue of pushback. I can give you 3 examples. The first one, we had a legislator who, fair enough, he was very open and honest, said, I have not read it, but I have it, I don't like it. And he now said, one that actually got me was that, he said that if this is somebody that is paid from taxpayers' money, and he's also paid to engage and employ legislative aides that should help him to understand some of these things. He said he has not read it. And to make matters, and I said, if I even read it, I'm still going to go against it. So that one is mischief. You can't cure that one. Now, where the second one is, there's a professor with 1,001 certification that wrote some, all this social media, what I call them.
A lot happens in social media.
Social media, something called conflict entrepreneurs. That's what somebody called them. And said that, they're introducing inheritance tax. No new tax is being introduced under these reforms. The section of the law that he was referring to is under personal income tax. It's what we call family tax. Because the family is a group of people. So it is only when the family disburses money to the members of the family that it becomes taxable in their pockets. It has always been there. It has always been since 2004, 2011. It is still there today. So that one also is a form of Then the most one that actually got my meat was the NLC. NLC said they don't, January this year, they don't want the reforms. And he said, you withdraw it. For what? Now, 85% of membership of NLC people are going to be 0 rated. Because these are the people that are the junior staff. So now, just yesterday, I was reading one of the papers. I think it is in Otueke or whatever. The president of SANU, that's the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian, whatever. I think that's the Senior Staff Association in the universities. So that this thing, they don't understand it, that the tax is too much for the people at the minimum wage level. The minimum wage has moved from 30,000 to 70. Right. So from 360 to 840.
We still see some state governments, struggling to pay that.
But they are paying the universities. But what has happened is that you see, at the 360 level, the tax due under this current regime is just about 400 naira. Now, because the minimum level has moved to 840,000, now, because we have not changed, because we have not passed this law, the tax being paid now by those people at that minimum level has gone to about 3,000 or thereabout. You would think, yes, 2,600 may not be something to you, but for those people at that level, so you could see the pain in him. But I just felt that you are addressing the wrong audience. The person you should talk to are your executives, that they should see to push through these reforms. Because if it is pushed through, I can tell you honestly that if these things is done, it's passed, we are able to maintain the minimum wage of 770, that's 840, and Naira finds its level. Because what you have in the Naira now is not the correct level. If it finds its level, you will be lifting within 18 months to 24 months, nothing less than 25 million people out of poverty.
Right. All right, but before I let you go now, talk to me about key documents and information needed for this for filing for individuals. Yeah. I know it's about that time, March 31st.
It has actually started from January now, but the timeline is 31st.
Right.
So what they need to do is very simple. You are disclosing your income from all sources. So what you need to disclose to us is how much you earn from employment, how much you earn from your passive investments. You see, you could have had some rental payments made to you if you are the landlord. If you had invested even in the stock exchange and you have received dividend, don't forget this dividend, yes, it is the final tax has been taken away, but you need to also disclose it because it helps us in calculating and evaluating the size of the economy itself.
But it's not like you're going to collect it.
No. Once you have paid tax, which is withholding tax, which is fine now, we will recognize it. But we will now say that this man that is living in Lagos, his income for 2024 was this amount. When we aggregate everybody in Lagos, we can say with level of comfort that, well, Lagos people, this is how much they earned last year. You understand? So that's the essence of it. And also it's important for people to know that filing is a constitutional requirement. It's a legal requirement as well. And also for us in Lagos administratively, if you don't file, you are not likely to get your TCC, that's your tax clearance certificate. And now you will need the tax clearance certificate to do so many things. So because we need to know who you are, how much you earn, how much you should pay, and whether you have paid it before we can give you a tax clearance certificate.
All right, there you have it. Taxman is out right now, so get ready to comply. Thank you so much, Mr. Akonde, the special advisor to the executive chairman, LIRS. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much.